What's the word, y'all? Welcome back to the recap. I'll go through quickly on the games, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But I really specifically want to talk about this play-in because it's been really talked about heavily over the last couple weeks. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I would really appreciate it if you went to podcasting platforms, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify podcasting, and gave Called Game 5 stars. We were top 10 on Apple, and I think number 14 on Spotify. And we want to continue to grind, man. It will be good for PR to be able to send it to Giannis's agent and say, hey, Called Game was number 5. So a lot of people want him on there. So I would appreciate it if y'all help us climb. Let me go through today's slate of games because, I mean, we had some good games here and there. The Magic beat the Pistons, which put the Magic from having the second worst record or the second highest odds for the first overall pick to the fourth, which could come into a play a little bit later. They lose to a team that was, or they beat a team that was worse than them. So you get me. Russell Westbrook put on an absolute clinic, 14, 21, and 24. I watched this game in its entirety, and he just made everything look so easy. Nobody's playing any defense in this game, so it kind of made it a fun little ride. But a big time win for them because this potentially could be a play-in game right here, and to see that they could beat them in this one game situation is pretty big for the Washington Wizards. The Warriors beat the Pelicans, and the Marvel game, the first official Marvel game where Draymond Green wins Hero of the Day. But Steph Curry puts up 41, so big game from him. And then we had the Trailblazers lose to the Atlanta Hawks. The Bulls almost pull off a comeback to beat the 76ers, but obviously they fall short like they typically do. The Knicks beat the Grizzlies in a grinded-out game when Julius Randle didn't score much for the first half, then hit a corner three, leaning and like 2 feet behind the line. And then he got things going after that. Derrick Rose puts up a magnificent performance. A few years, how many years ago did Derrick Rose win MVP? On the exact day that he won MVP years ago, he had a big performance and closed out this game for them. The Jazz steamrolled the Spurs. And then the Lakers get a must-win against the Nuggets. I cannot express how critical this game is for the LA Lakers because heading into today, I'm pretty sure they were the 7th seed, which means they would have been in a play-in, which is crazy to say about the Lakers, but this propels them up to 5. Again, a lot of basketball left, but this play-in situation is what I want to talk about today because over the last couple weeks, we saw some of the biggest people in names and in sports talk about it and be very against this. Starting off, Draymond Green. This is about 2 months ago. Draymond was the first one to say, like, bro, we don't really dig this whole play-in thing. This is not really incentive for my guys to be like, oh, we the 10th seed and we might make a playoff spot. He said it was kind of disrespectful in a way, and I can understand where he's coming from. Then after that, we saw Luka and Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks come out and say, we hate this idea. We play a 70-something game season this year, and it can all be taken away after just a couple games, which I understand that. And then just recently, LeBron said whoever came up with the play-in idea should be fired. And I keep seeing a lot of people on Twitter try to bring the receipts with LeBron and say, hey, LeBron, just last year, you said you liked the idea of a play-in game. And I just wanted to respond to every tweet because situations matter. Of course, last year, the play-in idea, I think it was a beautiful, beautiful idea. And I'm not saying that this year it's not a good idea either. I'm just posing the conversation. Last year is different than this year. It's because the season got canceled. It was put on hold. We had 2 months left of the whole season, and 2 months is a lot of time for somebody that might have been the 9th seed or 10th seed to potentially play their way into a real playoff spot. So yes, it made sense for last year to be a play-in year, but according to LeBron, Luka Doncic, and all of this, bro, we're playing a whole season of 70-plus games, and not even just that. This might be one of the seasons that takes the most toll on NBA players' body because we're playing 2 games in 3, 3 games in 4, 4 and 5, and traveling across the globe more than ever. I've said this before. I feel like there's so many more injuries this year than last year. I forget who it was. It was Jackie Mack. I think she was on Bill Simmons' podcast, and it was saying, like, statistically, there's not more injuries this year than last year. And maybe I'm counting health and safety protocol and stuff like that, but all of that matters. The Washington Wizards were ass this season. They lost 2 weeks of their season to health and safety protocol. And guess what? When they start to get healthy, they're the hottest team in basketball now. So yes, I'm counting that as the injury. So I completely understand where the players are coming from for hating this idea. But as a guy that's watching it, as a fan of the basketball and a fan of what could potentially be, I love the idea of a play-in. How many times in NBA history have we been this late in the season? We have 2 weeks left. The first official play-in game, I think, is May 18th. I keep seeing it at the bottom of the screens on ESPN, but I think it's the 18th. So we got about 2 weeks left. How many times in NBA history have we had this many teams still be relevant and still be fighting for a playoff spot this late in the year? It hasn't happened often, and a lot of that is due to the play-in. We had teams, specifically mine, go all in at the trade deadline because they saw an idea, they saw a little glimpse of potentially being that 10th seed. None of that is happening without the play-in game. And one of the reasons I really like the idea of a play-in game because of look at it like this. I just brought in the Washington Wizards reference. Earlier this season, they were god-awful. I made videos on this channel telling Bradley Beal to free himself, bro, because the ceiling of this team is just maybe you make the playoffs, and maybe that still is the ceiling, but they are playing significantly better than some of the teams above them right now, and in a typical season, that wouldn't matter whatsoever. A team that was injury-ridden at the beginning of the year gets hot, and they've dug themselves so much in a hole because of injuries, because of health and safety protocol. In a normal season, they have no chance of actually making noise. And in this season, I think a lot of people would look at the Washington Wizards and how great they have been and look at them playing against the Indiana Pacers in the play-in game like they did today and be like, yeah, they can win that game. And look at them playing against the losers of Celtics versus Hornets and be like, yes, they can win that game too. In the normal season, the Washington Wizards are a 10 seed. They are in the lottery. They have no chance. But now they have a chance. But again, I can see the other side of the thing. Luka Doncic and them said it perfectly. You can play 72 games, and Luka Doncic's team is up to the 6th seed now. So they're kind of safe, but again, long season left. So hypothetically, let's go to the Trailblazers, who now, after losing today, are the 7th seed. Trailblazers have had a lot of ups and downs this season, right? Earlier in this year, they were 10 games over 500. Damian Lillard's playing at MVP caliber level. He is dominating. They're the clutchest team in basketball. A lot of that due to Damian Lillard. And then, well, they get some injuries. Damian Lillard gets banged up. They lose 4 or 5 in a row. Let's say they keep this 7th seed. What if the second to last game of the season, CJ sprains his ankle? It's nothing super serious, but he sprains his ankle, and now you're in a do-or-die situation to keep your spot, and CJ is kind of injured. And I guess that could be the case in any playoff series, but it matters more now because, well, the 73 games that they played don't matter because it really boils down to these last 2. And in some other sports, I don't know much about soccer, but I was reading somewhere that soccer has some similar things, but I'm thinking about baseball. These men in baseball play 100+ games a season to make the wild card, where in just one game, all of that can be taken away. But what I can say as a casual baseball fan, I love wild card games. I absolutely love wild card games as a casual baseball fan. And I think that's what Adam Silver is looking at. Like, yeah, the playoffs are cool, but the casual NBA fan probably don't watch the first round. Because it's typically the 1 seed's going to win, maybe 4 or 5. It's a little toss-up. But the 2 seed and the 3 seed going to win their respective series. But with a play-in game, it's March Madness. And March Madness is like the biggest thing in basketball. It's one game elimination, everything on the line. But then again, Adam Silver is probably a little afraid right now because he can't afford the Lakers to be in the play-in and potentially lose. Yeah, having a play-in game with Steph Curry and LeBron James are going against each other in a one-game elimination would be amazing for that one game. Do you come to the realization that the way the Warriors are playing and compared to the way the Lakers are playing, Steph Curry might defeat LeBron James, the defending champions. And we saw 2 years ago, without LeBron James in the playoffs, it ain't the best for the casual fans. Let's be honest. LeBron brings up ratings. LeBron brings in ticket sales. So you don't want to see them be in it, but you do want to see somebody. So I'm curious to what y'all think about it from a fan's perspective and, of course, from the perspective of the players. I could see Draymond, a veteran, an NBA champion multiple times, being like, man, we ain't just trying to make the playoffs. But I could see a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, who went through a couple years of rebuild and last year were a playoff team before the season got shut down, be like, man, a play-in is actually super important for us because we believe that we can steal some games. I can see it from both ways. But I do want to go back to some of these games for the day. Leave it in the comment section because I'm really truly curious of what you guys think about these things. I made a tweet earlier that was like, who is the Marvel game for? I am a huge Marvel fan. The only property of Marvels that I have not watched is the most recent one with Bucky and the new Captain America, Falcon. I haven't watched that series yet. I haven't had time to, but I've watched all of the movies, all of the beat up TV shows, WandaVision. I've watched all of those things, but I watched this game too, and I didn't feel like it was for me. And I made the tweet asking people who this game was for, and they were saying for the kids. And I was just thinking to myself, how the heck were the kids going to find this Marvel game? Kids don't have cable. They definitely don't got ESPN too. They were comparing it to, like, I think it was the Pro Bowl that had Nickelodeon with the slime and the NFL players. I think that's where Mitchell Trubisky won. Mitchell Trubisky won an MVP award or something. I mean, it wasn't. First of all, I'm not saying it was terrible, but it just, like, I watched the first quarter of it, and then I went back to watch the regular broadcast because maybe it was a little bit too over the top for me. I think the idea, because it felt like fantasy basketball, the way they were tallying up and Draymond Green winning the thing. And you know what? I saw something on Twitter, and I got to fact check this because someone showed on Twitter that Draymond Green's basketball reference had Marvel Legend winner, and it doesn't. Okay, I got bamboozled. But who was that really for? I don't really know. I don't know if it was really for Marvel fans or it was for kids or maybe a little bit of both. Some of the animations were cool though. I'll give them that. Be sure to rate 5 stars, man. Rate 5 stars on those platforms. I cannot express how important that is for the success of COD Game. We actually got another episode dropping every Wednesday when it comes out. But this Wednesday we have Meta World Peace. Meta Sandiford Artest is what he goes by nowadays. A great interview. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I was hella nervous doing this one. This is the first one. This is the first one we ever shot, by the way. So I was super nervous. He walks in, and this is the first time I've been in like actual contact with an NBA player in a very long time, face to face. So it's a very good episode, but it's a different vibe than the Richard Jefferson one. When it came to the Richard Jefferson one, I was comfortable. I don't think I was very comfortable with the Meta Sandiford Artest one, but it was fun. It is good. So tune in for that. And watch TNT tomorrow because I'll be on that in some capacity. So that'll be fun too.